Hello all. In this video, we shall discuss about the relationship between India and ASEAN. ASEAN is basically the association of Southeast Asian nations, and it includes countries like Indonesia, Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos PDR, Myanmar and Vietnam. Now, you have to understand that India's connection with Southeast Asia is not a new one. It is basically deep rooted in history with respect to geography, civilization, culture, economy and strategy. And these connections became even more deeper and intensified when India in the early 1990s had initiated the Look East policy. And it was because of the Look East policy that India's connection with the ASEAN had become even more strong. Now, because of the fact that, in the early 1990s, the world's political and economic scenario had undergone some significant changes, India focused to strengthen its ties with ASEAN. And it was during this time period when India had initiated the Look East policy, when India was on it, marching towards its economic liberalization also. I hope you are all aware of the fact that the new economic policy reforms, namely liberalization, privatization, globalization, collectively known as the LPG reforms, were also initiated by India in the early 1990s. And it was exactly at this time period when India had also initiated the Look East policy so that it can find a place in the global scenario. Also because of the fact, like I mentioned, also because of the fact that the world itself was undergoing through some significant political and economic changes, and the Look East policy today has matured into something more dynamic and action oriented called the Act East policy. The initiation of the Look East policy had many advantages, and one major advantage was that it opened a very wide door for Indians to invest and interact with their motherland. The second thing was that it brought India and the ASEAN nations more close and connected this region with through trade relations. And third major advantage was that India was basically able to enter this region, and the Indians were able to revitalize and energize their social and cultural bonds. And these relations were further intensified when India unveiled or officially launched in 2014 its Act East policy. Now, while the Look East policy was initiated by India in the early 1990s, like I had mentioned, India was marching towards its own economic liberalization. That was a very crucial economic situation for India. So the Look East policy was initiated at a time period when India was undergoing its own structural reforms. But the Act East policy is basically aimed at strengthening India's relationship with ASEAN in terms of cultural, political and strategic dimensions. Now, apart from ASEAN, India also has taken other policy initiatives in the region that involve some members of the ASEAN itself, like BIMSTEC, MGC, etc. And also, India is an active participant in several regional forums like Asia Europe Meeting, East Asia Summit, and ASEAN Regional Forum, etc. We shall now look how the Indian diaspora basically influences India's foreign policy. The diaspora of any country has a very unique role in the international relations because people find themselves in between two countries wherein they are sharing two cultures. They have an emotional investment in both the nations. They preserve the social connections in both the societies, and therefore it becomes, and because of this very fact, it becomes a soft power tool in the hands of the policy makers. And basically, Indian civilization has naturally extended to the territories of present day Southeast Asia, and it is very important that the Indian government cultivates its relationship with the Indian diaspora in these countries. And one major advantage for the Indian community is that it is neither looked down upon or nor loathed like some of the other communities in Southeast Asia. It is important on the government's part that it creates a conducive environment which would always ensure the diasporic community its relationship with the homeland, that which would always remind the people regarding their relationship, their emotional connect with the homeland, and initiatives such as the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, Pravasi Bharatiya Sammelan, and Trade Facilitation Center for Overseas Indians are all steps that are taken by the government in the right direction, wherein they are creating a conducive environment to ensure that the diasporic community is always reminded of their homeland. The government must also see that the interest of the Indian community is also being preserved when they are negotiating mega trade agreements with other nations also. And given the economic potential of the region, the flow of Indian professionals in the region, and general goodwill towards the Indian economy, a diaspora obviously has a very big role to play in the future. We now move on to discuss the model question with respect to the topic that we have been discussing so far. The model questions for your practice are: question number 1, diaspora is a key soft power in the India's foreign policy towards Southeast Asia. In this context, examine the ways of enhancing cooperation between India and ASEAN. The second question is: India's relationship with ASEAN is a key pillar of her foreign policy and the foundation of Act East policy. Comment. I hope you found the content of this session valuable. If you liked the session, kindly like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.